is Progress Presents on SiriusXM Progress 127.
And here we are in our final stretch. I'm here with you until midnight. I'm Tina Dupuis, and we are going to be talking about weed, or the business of weed. On the phone with us, we have Sean Kali-rai. That is quite a California name, Sean Kali-rai.
Well, I figured I'd throw Cali in there somewhere, right?
No, I love it. It's perfect. What an appropriate thing to be called. Thank you for joining us. I'm really interested to talking about the business of cannabis, especially in the past. Has it been 6 months that it's been recreational weed has been available in California?
Yeah, as of January 1st. I mean,
okay.
It's always been available. But,
right.
But as of January 1st, it's officially legal recreationally, and it's up. You know, I know your political show, and it's absolutely a part of the political landscape. It's where politicians used to run away from it in the past. They're absolutely running toward it. It was funny. They did a raise your hand question at the debate, and they asked, well, who smoked it? And almost every gubernatorial candidate had raised their hand, except for Gavin Newsom, who doesn't particularly like it, but is pro-cannabis and has taken, almost $500,000 in money from the cannabis industry, and actually did the Blue Ribbon report that led up to Prop 64 and its passage. So, everyone is trying to go.
John Boehner is buying in. The former Speaker of the House, John Boehner, has chimed in, and he's also investing in cannabis, which is shocking. We all knew he smoked cigarettes, but now he too. So you get to like the saturation point where once it used to be it was a law and order conversation, and now it is a human health situation. And if politicians are, if once we have politicians, then the fight has been won, at least in its acceptance, right?
Well, there was a time where I would want to get in front of politicians, and I'd want to get the phone calls, and I'd want them to take my money because it meant that they're coming over to the green side, and now I'm scared to answer my phone.
Oh my gosh!
Every politician that's running for
I was hoping you were going to say that.
For money. They're like,
wow.
Hey, we hear you have money. Please send us money. We need some of that cannabis money.
Like, what's the timeline? Like, when did this happen? When was like the tipping point for you?
Oh gosh, probably January. I mean, it all kind of.
Oh wow, we're talking. I thought, like, when you talked about, I thought you were talking about like maybe years, but we're talking months.
No. I mean, listen. I mean, everybody loves cannabis, just not in their backyard or not in their city or not wherever, right? So, so the same thing has happened with this. Is like every other political sort of hot potato, they kind of pushed it around and nobody really wanted it, and then all of a sudden, hey, the voters voted for it, and every day more and more politicians are sort of getting on the bandwagon. It's like, wait, I've been green. So now when I have conversations with local elected officials, even at the state level, it's funny that one of them, had a conversation with. We were having a coffee, and the first thing that they said was, "Oh, I'm a member of NORML." I'm like, okay. Usually you start with your name,
right?
Usually come out and say that you're a member of NORML right off the bat. But that's something they would have never said before, right? They would never talk about any affiliation with cannabis or anything like that. And now it's the first thing that they talk about, and then talk about, hey, can I get money? Can I get your support? Can I go visit a dispensary? Can I get introduced to the industry? And now it's literally, for us in California, they're looking at how much money the industry is spending lobbying up at the state. I mean, it didn't take the politicians long to realize, hey, this is a brand new industry and a brand new funding source. Let's go get some contributions.
Sean, I think I forgot to mention that you are a marijuana lobbyist and founder and president of the Silicon Valley Cannabis Alliance. I just thought your name kind of summed you up without telling everybody what you do. So, what do you kind of anticipate what is next for the industry? I mean, what we've seen in Colorado was as soon as it was offered recreationally, there were a little bit of like uptick on a couple of people going to the ER. A lot of the candies look exactly like candies that that children eat, and so there were some of those kind of public health concerns. But now you don't hear about those stories anymore out of Colorado. The conversation has changed. Are you guys looking at other states to kind of anticipate what's coming down?
Yeah, that was really Denver and Colorado as a state really was sort of a canary in the coal mine for us. It really gave us some guidelines as to what we should be looking at, what we shouldn't. So the state of California has some pretty strong restrictions. There's certain places that you cannot have a dispensary, not near schools, not near childcare. You cannot have the cannabis products be an attractive nuisance. So they cannot look like gummy bears. They cannot look like candy. They cannot look like copies of real candy bars or something like that. And they've also dropped the dosage down. So you're not seeing people go to the ER in the numbers that you did before by having too much because they're dropping down the dosage. And so if you eat the entire brownie and not just a quarter of it, you're not going to feel like you did before, like you're out of your mind. So, California has looked at all of these other states and said, hey, what mistakes have they made? And let's try to sidestep all of those issues and not have those same problems. But California is also it's a nation state. I mean, we are 40-odd million people, the fifth largest GDP in the world,
bigger than Canada in population. But
so California is completely different when it comes to cannabis. It's weird. People are going to look at us and say, "Oh my God, how's California doing?" I literally hosted some folks from New Zealand. Some ministers of parliament came from New Zealand, and I took them on a tour of a dispensary, and it blew their mind. They have a country that has about 4.8 million people, and it was they looked around and said, "Oh my God, I can't believe that I'm in a city, in a state that allows cannabis, and look at all the people in line. They're all old, middle aged. They're all older folks." It was eye opening for them. They went back and they were kind of blown away because New Zealand is now looking at how do they go about dealing with their cannabis related issues.
Right. I wanted to just mention because LA County really did, or no, it was the city of Los Angeles really probably set back kind of cannabis acceptance back, I would say, a good 5 years. I was living there at the time, and it was over over one summer because the city council didn't act in time or just kind of didn't do anything. There were more medical marijuana dispensaries in Los Angeles than McDonald's, Burger King, and Taco Bell combined. And it was all over one summer, and it was and it just so happened to be in that moment when the housing bubble burst. So there was a lot of empty real estate. There was a lot of real estate available and empty storefronts, and it was a nightmare. It was everywhere. There were no zoning regulations, so it was close to schools and wherever, and it became a real problem. And so I'm happy that the statewide initiative saw how not to do it in LA and has made a law that's a lot more responsible. But so, could you tell us what the Silicon Valley Cannabis Alliance does? Like, what are you what is your goal with this organization?
So as the industry sort of matures and as it starts becoming a real industry and not just a few dispensaries here and there and some small businesses, we're right in Silicon Valley. So it's really San Mateo County, Santa Clara County, and San Benito County, which are right in the heart of Silicon Valley. And we look at the industry like we did the fledgling industry of tech. And we think, wait, why can't we organize this? The money's definitely here. People have accepted this. The state's legalized this. There's no reason this can't be as big an industry, if not bigger, than tech. And so someone has to be smart and responsible and deal with legislators and deal with local elected officials and really put the right foot forward and be responsible, sort of an industry group. And that's really what made me think about, hey, we need to open up something that mirrors what tech has out here in Silicon Valley. I mean, there's a few organizations here in Silicon Valley that tech has that really are the powerhouses and generate a lot of the political power and what happens at the local and state level, and even at the federal level. So we're trying to mimic those organizations through the Silicon Valley Cannabis Alliance, and band together these small, disparate businesses that were underground before, and really make them, a single voice with a single message and with a single purpose, and give it the right look and feel. I mean, bring it out of that skater tattoo sort of image
right.
into business suits.
Right.
For better or worse. I mean,
you're listening to Sean Kali-rai, and how can we follow you, Sean?
Oh, it's really easy. You can the web page is great. It's www.sv-ca.com, and above and beyond working with the industry itself, we're also trying to be socially responsible. So at the Alliance, we work with the local Santa Clara County District Attorney's Office, and we're trying to get together with the public defender also and have more expungement. Expungement is a big issue.
Yeah.
When Prop 64 passed, there was an entire social responsibility part of this is, hey, let's no longer fill the jails and that whole criminal penal system and complex with minor drug offenders, especially cannabis, and let's not change the course of their lives. And let's move beyond that. And if you had a prior cannabis conviction that was a certain level or below, you would have an expungement or you'll have a cleaning up of the record. And so we're also trying to work with local counties and their law enforcement officers and so forth to spread the word and help those people out, because you don't realize it. If you got caught in a park smoking a joint and you didn't have the means to get a lawyer and you ended up getting busted, for lack of a better word, it would change. You couldn't get a student loan. You couldn't get affordable housing.
Well,
you couldn't, in some cases, get an auto. There's a lot of negative repercussions that happen because of cannabis, and it would change the course of your success in your life. And so hopefully we can undo some of that. And I think that's one of the big reasons that Prop 64 actually passed. I think it was Californians, are pretty liberal and have a big heart, and I think they were tired of seeing people suffer over minor drug convictions.
Right, but isn't one of the issues with that is a lot of these people in prison they're in federal pen. They're in California, but they're in the federal penitentiary system. So California doesn't have jurisdiction over that. So we're still going to have thousands of people in prison for weed, when it's the largest state in the union by population is now selling it in nice well-lit dispensaries.
Well, what Prop 64 did also, in addition to that, is allowed you not to get in trouble unless you're doing something specifically criminal. So you can actually possess it. You can actually have cannabis in your possession, and you're not going to get busted, versus before. And so police officers and police departments in general are not searching your car now if they smell cannabis, because it's illegal. So they've moved on. But before, and really one of the other problems that we were having with cannabis is the law was being disproportionately applied to people of color.
Yes.
If you were African American, you were 8 to 10 times more likely to be convicted of a cannabis-related crime versus that same person if it was Caucasian or Asian, which is even lower rate than the Caucasian person with an infraction. So there's that whole social justice aspect, and what we're trying to do is we're trying to move that expungement process along. Santa Clara County currently is moved about 500 people through the process. They're estimating about 10,000 people that are qualified for expungement, and at this pace, it's going to take 20 years.
10,000.
Oh yeah. I mean, cannabis. A lot of people used it, and a lot of people got caught using it.
That's a shocking number. I mean, I worked. When I was on Capitol Hill, my boss wanted to introduce. There's a perennial bill that Bernie Sanders always introduces, which is to take marijuana off the schedule. And so we had this the companion bill in the House, and we were doing media, so I was interviewing people and talking to people who had who had been busted, who had basically lost their livelihood. I worked in a Florida office, and so if in Florida, there's 1.2 million Floridians who cannot vote because they're felons, and a lot of those felons are kids who were caught with a joint. I interviewed one man who went to prison in his early life, and he's now a pillar of his community, and he's newly married to a woman who was running for the state legislature, and he couldn't vote for his wife. These stories are not these are real human beings who are victims of a very stupid law.
Yeah, and it's hopefully that will change. I mean, the interesting thing is there has been some conversation, and I've seen a few articles around the issue of Schedule 1, cannabis being a Schedule 1 drug, and also firearms possession. So from what we understand and what we're reading is that the NRA is scared. The NRA is scared that people will choose cannabis over guns, because if you use cannabis, you cannot possess a gun. And so the strange thing that may happen is cannabis may end up getting the NRA helping us deschedule it as a Schedule 1 drug, which is the most absurd thing. But
I have to now. What? Let's go back. So there's been some conversation about the fact that if you possess a firearm, you're not allowed to use a Schedule 1 drug. You have to forfeit your firearm. Now, obviously, that goes to this is California law.
No, that's federal law.
Oh, okay. Please continue.
So you cannot be in the use of a Schedule 1 drug and have a firearm.
Have a legal firearm, correct. Okay.
Have a legal firearm. Yeah, exactly, a legal firearm. So the NRA is now looking at this issue and saying, wait, we may actually lose NRA members because they're choosing cannabis over the firearm. Or they may use cannabis either for medicinal purposes or otherwise, and they would legally have to forfeit their firearm. So they may see their membership roll start to dwindle, and that is going to make them actually a proponent of descheduling cannabis from a Schedule 1 drug, which is a really strange bedfellow, but that's what politics makes for, between cannabis and the NRA.
Yeah, I think that the NRA lies about their membership anyway. But I've also now heard. I mean, I suffer from migraines, so and mushrooms have been long kind of thought of as a cure, as a preventative measure, and so the hope is, if with cannabis being legal, that mushrooms will also be decriminalized or available. What do you think about that?
Gosh, if it's then this is just a personal opinion. I think that if it's herbal and it's going to make you feel better and cure an ailment of some sort, some of the over-the-counter drugs and some of the prescription drugs we take are horrible and have horrible side effects. Why not take something that's natural and that is going to potentially help you? The pharmaceutical companies can't have a monopoly on making people feel good, right? If a mushroom makes you feel good and it works for you, and it's actually taking care of your problem, then by all means, you should be able to use it legally.
I mean, it has there's far-reaching applications for mushrooms. My father-in-law is chronically ill, and we've talked about mushrooms. There's a for end-of-life care. Pardon me. That that it helps people psychologically be just kind of cope with their own mortality. And I've read a couple of pieces about that, and I think that the more data that we can have, the more studies we can have with these substances, then the public health issue kind of it dissipates. We can fix.
Well, I think we just have to have a more Eastern approach to medicine. Right? If you just go to any Chinatown in any city, USA, you will see nothing but herbal supplements or herbal, mix up this powder with that, with this or the other, and you may call them home remedies or what have you, but it's a part of their culture, and it's a part of that Asian science that has worked for as remedies for a long, long period of time. So I think if we just open our minds a bit and think of cannabis or mushrooms or anything else that may help in that case, and think in that Eastern philosophy, that would be helpful. Get away from opioids, get away from pharmaceutical companies popping pills, and better food, whatever it takes to make your health better and wellness, by all means. I mean, you see a lot of Americans now, certainly in California, everyone's doing yoga.
Yeah.
And who would have thunk? I mean, the whole culture is sort of turned into yoga culture. Everybody talks about wellness. Everybody talks about meditation. At some of the cannabis dispensaries that are clients and members of the Cannabis Alliance, they have yoga studios in the actual dispensary. So you can come and you can purchase your cannabis. You can also hang out and do a yoga class.
That is like the most California thing I've ever heard. Sean Kali-rai, we have 1 minute left. I thank you for coming on. We called you at the last minute. You are fantastic. This is to be continued. We will continue talking about this. This is I'm out, guys. I'll be here tomorrow. My name is Tina Dupuy. You can follow me at tinadupuy.com. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Facebook. I'm everywhere. And I am on the air tomorrow, 9 p.m. to midnight on the East Coast. You guys are the best. Have a great night.